Hi, everybody, and welcome to the Mental Toughness and Body Show. My name is Robb Evans, and I'm your weight loss coach, health strategist, and internationally published author, helping take your life, your business, your mindset, your health and wellness from where you are to becoming unstoppable. And today I have an amazing guest with me, and it's George Ross, and we're going to cross to that interview shortly. Now, George has been Donald Trump's right-hand man for 47 years prior to him becoming president. He's a best-selling author. He's an incredible lawyer and just a fantastic person. He's 92 years old and still going strongly. Now, the first time I met George, it was quite funny. It was over in Los Angeles. And I remember walking down a corridor of the motel, and I walked past George. And it was one of those moments where he was coming towards me. I walked past and then stopped and thought, oh, that's George Ross. So I stopped, came back. I was going to say something to him, and he kind of got flooded with people, and people wanted to have photos with him and everything. So, I offered to take some photos of people, and first of all, it was one person, and then other people came, and I was just getting the phones and taking more and more photos, to the point that people were just then starting to be a little bit rude. And I was trying to be respectful of George and everything, and people were, pushing in front, and it was starting to get a bit yucky. And at some point, George just puts out his hand, grabs my hand, and pulls me in, and so I could take a photo with him. And I think it just goes to show what sort of person George is. He's so giving, he's so generous, and I had a lot of fun during this interview. And there's a couple of things to watch out for. First of all, apologize in advance. When we're recording these things during COVID and we're working a little bit differently, I had my cat as a special guest who was playing over in the corner and meowing and playing with her toy during the interview. So apologies for that. Please don't be distracted. But also, George and I, we were talking about a number of things, and I did ask him about the electoral process, and he dropped a bombshell about Donald Trump, which really just like, oh, wow, okay, George, if you want to share that, that's fine. So keep an eye out for that as well. I had a lot of fun. Thanks so much, George. And please, everybody, enjoy this interview. Thank you so much for joining me today, George. It's a privilege being able to speak with you.
Good. Pleasure being here.
So, George, I wanted to ask you your perspective on COVID and how it's impacted you over there in the US. I'm in Melbourne, Australia here, and we've been forced to be locked down for, 7.5 months. And it's obviously had a big impact on us in so many different ways. I was just wondering on you personally with COVID, has there anything that you've learned about yourself with COVID, or observing what has happened around you for others during this pandemic?
Well, I think, it's a whole change in lifestyle. You don't see people you want to see. You don't socialize as much as you want to socialize. You're restricted. I don't think we're restricted as much in the United States as some of the other countries throughout the world. But it's a change. You don't travel as much. You don't go to different places. Your entertainment is different. You don't see your children or your family as much as you want, and it's a different lifestyle, but something that you can live with. It's not impossible, but it's trying.
It's very different. So tell me, the perception that we get in the media as to what's going on in the US is that it certainly seems to be just escalating more and more out of control. Is that the reality? You're feeling like, well,
they got me escalating. I think that part of the problem is the media. And I think that you're getting an opinion, or you're getting not opinions. What they're saying or the way they present it is one way, not necessarily, I think, the truth. They're presenting it in a number of cases. And you're saying, okay, your cases are going up. That's because you're testing and people are showing positive. That's fine. I mean, that's it. There's no question about it. But on the other hand, if you look at, as morbid as it may be, the death toll is not that great.
Yes.
The people that get it or are asymptomatic, they seem to they basically get over it in a period of week or 2 weeks. Nothing dramatic. The amount of real drastic results you have are limited, but you don't see as much of that. So you get the panic of, we got 60,000 to 30,000 cases a day. Yeah, but how when you look at the 30,000 cases, how bad were those cases? What's the age group that's involved? You find most of the people that get around. I don't know, and I'm looking at my own community. I don't know anybody who's in my community that I know that's died from COVID, as horrible as that may be. So, but you don't know it. Nevertheless, yes, previously or early up, you had the big problem where they needed the ventilators and they overran the hospitals. But I think a lot of the therapeutics are there that could make the fact that you have it bearable, or that you don't have horrible results, then that doesn't come out as much in the open world as the effect of saying, well, yes, we've got 30,000 cases. In other words, it's easier to sell something horrible than it is to sell something pretty good.
Yes. Yeah, I hear you. Yeah. So, George, I wanted to ask you about your work ethic. I mean, from what I see of you, you have such a tremendous work ethic, and I love that. What do you think drives you, even today, to still be, on this interview with me? You've just got such a tremendous focus. What do you think has driven you to have such a strong work ethic?
Well, I think what's driven me is I think it's the teacher impulse in me. As you look at it and say that look at my background and what I've done and what I have built. I'm saying that if I turn back and say I'm giving you 70 years of experience or 60 years of experience, of very diversified experience as a teaching or as a professor or a part of the Apprentice as being a show. The diversification is such that I have opportunities or experiences to talk and speak to other people, that they might be able to learn something from those experiences that would make their life a little better, easier, call it what you like. But I think that that's helpful. So that's the give back. Why not? Cost me nothing.
Yeah. Yeah.
Cost
Beautiful.
me time, so what? I got plenty of time. But meanwhile, I look at how difficult the world of business is today as to what it was 20 or 30 years ago, and I become very sympathetic. I'm saying, gee, I'm glad at this, I'm reluctant. First, I'm glad I don't have to go through what you're going through now.
Yes.
But at this, I'm looking back and say, I didn't have it as bad because we didn't have the social media, we didn't have the platforms, we didn't have the internet, we didn't have all of the immediacy. That if something happens, the whole world knows about it.
Yeah, instantly, just like that. Yeah.
Incidentally, yes, you can turn it on. And that's television or radio call, whatever it is. That's how they make their money. You get people are interested in scandal, not what's good. And I think it's not wrong. I can't say that it's wrong. It's just that's the way it is. Bad news sells, good news doesn't.
Yes. Yeah. So I'm curious, if you could go back to, say, the 20-year-old version of yourself, knowing what you know now, what do you think would be some advice you would give yourself back then?
Yeah, okay. The basic advice I would give is to be more aware or interested in technology. And the technology, which is growing, as be such an important part of your everyday life and your future life and your business, that I would spend more time learning what the technology is and the improvements than just doing what works out normally or has been convenient over a period of time. It's to make the diversion from what was then normal to what is now normal or what is now important, and the awareness. As I said, I was aware, I would say, of technology probably earlier in certainly in the radio business than a lot of competitors, but nevertheless, it was a hard sell because there's a question of changing your mindset as well as getting new equipment, and that's expensive. So now you got the same thing. Now today, you got to get the new equipment, and look what's happening at this. Yeah. What are we up to? iPhone 12 or whatever? I mean, it's always something new, and the drive, and that's totally different. What was okay yet last week is not good today. It's different. And you have to be aware, how does it affect my business? How does it affect how I think? How does it affect how I invest? So all of these things come into play, and it's an awareness which you didn't need years ago.
So when you were starting out on your career, were you a big reader at all? Did you read like leadership books or inspirational or business books or anything like that?
No, I never read books as such. I was aware of what was going on in the industry, but also that companies would pitch product to me. So you got a company like Xerox would pitch a product on how to improve the office relationship and the documents and the reputation, and others as well. And I was aware of it. Saying, yeah, that's good, because I could see the saving that would be there, even though there was an expenditure. The hard part was getting people in the know to say, I'm going to spend the money on an untrusted situation, an untrusted system.
Yes.
And the future work. But that's typical. And it's still there today, because you got something new. Would I spend the money to do it? I have to revamp my whole system. Now, one of the areas you got today, which you didn't have there, cybersecurity. Hey, that never existed.
Yeah.
But now with the emails and everything else and the hacking, it's become a whole new business. And not only that, it's something that every business has to be aware of.
Yes.
So yeah, I have to change my business to make it. I don't want all that information out in the public.
Yes.
And so it's operating under a different lifestyle. Does that mean you shouldn't do it? No, you can, but I would. It's different now than it was then.
Yes.
You didn't realize the impact that it had. Now you do. Had I known then what the impact would be in 20 years, I would have done things entirely differently.
Yeah. Yeah. Well said. George, one of the my passions is around health and fitness and studying successful people. And I'm just wondering on what's the importance that you place on your own health and well-being and fitness in success?
Oh, that's an easy one. And I think that you're on of all of the topics that I've been discussing, mostly, certainly today and the others, I think health and fitness is underplayed.
Yeah.
It is not only important, it is the key important element of one's life,
yes,
in my estimation. If you have your health, you got everything. Everything else is second best.
Yes.
Now, having said that, when it comes to fitness, people don't, especially it's dependent on age. The younger you are, you figure I'm invulnerable. I don't need to work out. I don't need this. I don't have to watch what I eat. I don't have to watch my weight. I'll worry about it when I'm 70 or 80 or whatever. So it's putting it off for convenience. So you're not looking at the science of it. You're looking at it's easy for me.
Yeah.
That's terrible, because it just becomes more ingrained, and the longer you permit something that's debilitating to continue, the worse it becomes. Now what happens when you get a doctor, you go to the doctor and you find out you got a serious condition, which if you had done something with it 20 years ago, you could have taken care of it. Now all of a sudden it crops up, and it's because of the fact that it's been there so long, it's a whole different type of therapeutics that you need. So I think it's a lack of awareness for people really to be aware and consider how important health is and fitness.
Yeah, nicely said. Nicely said. I have one final question for you, George, which about the US election. So not the political standpoint, but certainly from an Australian looking in, having a different electoral system here to the US. And with the allegations that have been put out there, and things being kicked out of the court and everything, I'm just wondering on what you think. We have a completely independent body that controls the electoral process, and I didn't understand until watching it so closely this year that it's not run by an independent body over there. Do you think everything that's gone on around this election opens up the door to perhaps we need to step in and have an overview of how we run it and to do it a little bit differently in the future?
No, I think the answer is yes, to do it. I don't see it as a major overhaul. I think there have to be different protections to get the politics out of it.
Yes.
Make it fairer. How do you do that? Well, as long as you got politicians, it's hard to do, because they're going to want it to go their way. So if your politics are controlled by the Democrats, they want everything to go the Democratic way, and the same thing if there's a Republican. So to get a fair and impartial election is difficult.
Yes.
It's difficult. Especially difficult now where you have so much money which is put into a particular party or into a campaign, which could be totally disproportionate, depending upon who the candidate is, makes a big difference. So it's a situation where there is correction which should take place, and I think will take place. But is it absolutely critical? No, it's not a major overhaul. It's trying to get the politics out of the figure and get it down to what the people really think.
Do you think what's going on now is damaging the political process?
The answer is yes, I do. But I think that it's resolving itself.
Yeah.
When I say resolving itself, I think the fact that Biden is coming in and Trump is going out is good. All right, I think it's good because I think it's time for a change.
Yes.
And it was just that Trump's style was so way out of bounds compared to what happened years ago. And now you're getting the needle to come back a little more to the center and say more realistic, which I think is good. Now, if in fact the Senate is controlled by the Republicans, which I think that it will be, I think that's be a major factor in the next 4 years.
Yes.
That's the safety valve.
Yes.
From the Democrats going off the deep end, being so unrealistic and so liberal, and it's the safety valve that the Senate can put a control on that. So they'll have to work together. If you get politicians to work together, they can do miracles.
Yeah.
And if you can't get them to work together, forget it. And that's what happened. From the time Trump got elected, he couldn't get any. They didn't want it. They were looking to impeach him in day one. He was an outsider. He was a businessman, not a politician.
Yes. Yeah. Wonderfully said. George, it's been so great spending some time with you here today. I'm so grateful for being able to spend this time with you. I wish you all the best and have a great rest of 2020. And hopefully we can see you in person at next year's Mega Success.
One thing that we should all know is what is going on today is not restricted to a particular country. It's restricted to the world.
Yes.
But we don't realize at this point, what's happening in Australia is something we ought to be looking at in the United States and vice versa.
Yes.
So we got to talk now on the basis of what's best in the interest of the world as against the interest of an individual country. And that's foreign to all other people, because the French are going to think like the French and the Italians it's everybody's got their own side of politics. And it's nice to talk to say you would be part of common ground, except we're not. We're different.
Yes.
So it's keep that in mind. That what's good today is it may not be good tomorrow. But you got smart heads right. That basically somehow things have a way of working out.
Yeah. Thanks so much, George.
You're welcome.